Hi, welcome to this week's episode of the Pops and Drops podcast.
What up, people?
This week, since things are going awry, we thought we would talk about the future of news.
Things are going awry?
Well, things may be going awry.
Okay.
We shall see.
According to the conservative boomer viewpoint, things are going awry.
Okay. All right. So we will talk about where people get their information. Okay, so right now, the primary news sources for you, do you watch television or cable news or anything?
Leading up to the election, I was flipping between MSNBC, Fox News, and CNN, but...
That's done.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I still watch clips on... Now I've gotten back to my regular thing where I watch... like all of the late night monologues.
Okay.
So I watch Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon,
Crowder.
What? The other guy.
Yeah.
What's his name? I have his face in my face. Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, Fallon, Myers, Seth Meyers.
Oh, that's late. No, who's the guy who used to be on the Daily Show though?
That's Jimmy. That's Seth. The Daily Show. Oh, yeah, I watch him too. What is his name? Stephen Colbert.
Colbert, right?
Yeah. So I watch like those four every night.
Okay. And what about Trevor Noah?
Yeah, sometimes I watch Trevor Noah more on Instagram.
Okay.
Because it pops up on my feed. His little monologues pop up on my Instagram feed. I don't like search him. Like on YouTube, on the algorithms, they all pop up now.
Okay.
The 4 late nights. But Trevor Noah I watch on Instagram.
Okay. So,
but it's still like the full length, like 20-minute thing because they have Instagram stories. It's like a IGTV thing.
Okay. And the other sources of news currently, ABC, NBC, CBS, local affiliates.
I never watched that ever. That's just bad news.
Oh, I see. So you don't watch it because all they tell you is bad news.
It's like murders and
sure,
bad stuff.
Okay.
I don't want that entering my universe.
So, and then in addition to MSNBC, CNN, and Fox, there's also now Newsmax.
Is that the Uber Trumper one?
Yeah. And One America Network, I think, is another one. I'm just thinking about the ones that actually have carriage on some cable services or satellite services. You can find OAN and Newsmax in addition to CNN and Fox.
Isn't Cheddar one?
No, Cheddar is like a internet thing where they do features on new products. Isn't that Cheddar?
It's on Sling. Cheddar News is on Sling. I just never watch it.
Oh, I've never heard of that before. Yeah. Okay, so that's another one. But if Cheddar News is anything like Cheddar on the internet, it's just like stories about new inventions, robots, and...
Maybe I should start watching Cheddar then, because that sounds dope.
Maybe. Okay, so that's where people...
wonder if I watch Vice too.
Okay.
Vice News.
Okay.
That's like, they talk a lot about like weed and stuff.
Mm-hmm. So those are and that's, I don't guess Vice is carried on cable services though.
Vice has its own Viceland.
Is that an HBO thing?
No, it's on Sling.
Okay.
It's probably, you guys probably have it. You have all the channels.
Okay. I just don't remember seeing it on the guide.
I think Viceland might actually be a HBO show, but Vice is there's definitely a...
Okay.
Either Viceland or Vice. And
so then, and then other online news sources I'm aware of, there's Daily Mail, Daily Beast, obviously New York Times, Washington Post have online stuff.
Breitbart.
I don't read Breitbart, but that's one.
Hoffman, the
Huffington Post?
Huffington Post. Hoffman.
The Hoffman Post. That's Hoffman Estates in Chicago.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see, which ones are we missing?
What is his first name?
Who?
The actor Hoffman.
Dustin?
Dustin Hoffman should start his own news network.
Okay.
I would like to see news read by Dustin Hoffman.
Okay. And then,
Very bad news.
yeah. That would be funny.
Oh, man.
Okay. Probably missed a ton of them. But then in addition to those, there's commentary. There's now the Daily Wire and Blaze TV.
The Young Turks, too.
Young Turks.
I used to watch them more. I don't, they just, like disappeared off of my.
Mm-hmm. And then there's two former Young Turks that have pretty strong channels of their own. That's Jimmy Dore and Dave Rubin. Both used to be on the Young Turks, and now they have their own channels. And then perhaps Joe Rogan talks about news sometimes.
Yeah, he's a pretty prolific. He's kind of everywhere.
Yeah. And Tim Pool. Have you heard of Tim Pool? Tim Pool is interesting. He is really growing his channel. He's works like a Dickens. He does something like
That is a very boomer phrase. Jesus. He works like a Dickens. Oh my God.
He's on 4 hours a day or something. He's crazy. Plus he does a live show once a week. So
Okay.
So there's a lot of news out there. And post-Trump, what are your thoughts about where the audience moves among all of those different channels?
I think everyone's gonna there's gonna be a big lull and needed for everything to calm down. I mean, I don't know. All the news networks though, and every news organization, I forgot who I was listening to the radio, to NPR, and this guy was talking about how they all have all these like stories like in files that they pull out when it's like a slow news day that they're just going to start going back into.
So we get, since they've basically spent 4 years doing nothing about, but talking about Trump, now they've got 4 years worth of slow news day files to,
Yeah.
Interesting.
Probably a bunch of like humanitarian pieces and
We'll see.
good stuff.
We'll see.
Maybe corruption, there's probably like a ton of stuff that have just been on the back burner that they like just haven't decided to go after yet.
Yeah.
Because everyone's been focused on Trump. I'm sure there's going to be a ton of now it's going to be more evenly spread, and there's going to be like corruption politicians like popping up in like Missouri and Chicago, and like all these stories that have kind of been buried, I think will come to the surface.
Like the Hunter Biden story.
No,
That one won't pop up. That one's going to remain buried.
it's not buried, man. It's just bullshit. There's not going to be any more bullshit either.
Okay. All of a sudden the bullshit stops.
Well, when the main source of it was Trump.
Well, most of the main source of the bullshit was New York Times and Washington Post.
Oh my God.
I don't know that they can ever recover from what they did for the last 4 years. They totally traded in their credibility for a political agenda. But
Oh my God. What?
the New York Times and Washington Post, they're not objective. They haven't been objective.
No one is objective.
The New York Times and Washington Post at some point were. Washington Post was the newspaper that broke the Pentagon Papers story and exposed what was going on with the military-industrial complex in Vietnam. But now they've been essentially taken over by the military-industrial complex, and now they promote war instead of being anti-war.
Okay.
Yeah, well, the CIA has essentially infiltrated most of the mainstream media, and they control the narrative. So, luckily for the country, we have the internet where the truth tellers are.
Yeah, and the wackos and the crackpots.
Yep, so it's on
Like, what's that guy? He's Joe Rogan's
Alex
friend?
Jones.
Yes, he's insane. He used to be
Sometimes you have to be insane
he used
to
to
break
be-
some stories. He's the one who broke the Epstein story. He's
and
the one who.
and I'm saying he used to have credibility before he started sucking up to Trump.
Oh, well.
He was
okay.
he was the one who exposed the Bilderbergers. He was down there like filming the owl being burned
Yep.
and all that stuff.
Yep. Well, so maybe now that Trump's gone, Alex Jones gets back on track. That's one of the news sources we didn't mention, but he's got a big audience. Infowars.com has a lot of people.
Yeah, because he's crazy though. It's like a car wreck. He's just like Trump.
Okay.
It's like watching a car. He's like insane. Did you see him on Joe Rogan a couple weeks ago? It was like during Sober October, and he kept trying to get Joe to drink.
Yes.
He was like, "Come on, Joe. Come on, Joe. Just take one. I know you want to, Joe." My God.
He does have an issue with alcohol.
He has an issue with everything, man. Homeboy's cray. He would try any drug probably if you placed it in front of him.
I don't know.
Yes, he would. Because when he was there, he was like, "Oh, we're not going to smoke pot, Joe? Oh, yeah, we can't because we're in Texas now."
Yeah. I mean, I know he smokes pot and he drinks, but I think that's probably every.
Definitely been on crack too, probably. Just look at him. When he's on Adderall, which is methamphetamine. Didn't you know that? Adderall is methamphetamine. It's just a pharmaceutical grade methamphetamine. He's a crazy person, dude.
Okay.
And the aliens
All right.
have infiltrated the government. I'm sorry, I gotta get out of that. It's fun to talk like it, though.
Okay. Well, I mean, there's quite a few internet stories about aliens interacting with the government. So I don't know that that's necessarily just Alex Jones, but
Well, here's the thing. Snowden said that there probably is aliens, but if like there are, it's so buried deep that even he couldn't find it.
of course, that's where it would be.
Yeah, but like he like got into so it's got to be like
Like MK Ultra deep.
I don't know what's MK Ultra.
Well, there's a couple of government secrets that are so secret that they took 50 years to uncover. One of them was the CIA testing LSD on citizens and prisoners.
What's that guy's name? He was a part of that. Charlie Manson was a part of that.
Exactly.
The Manson family.
Yes.
That was the government.
Yep.
Trying to start a civil war, trying to start a
race war.
The government. That's
Yeah.
crazy. I remember reading.
And it was
That was MK Ultra?
yeah.
Okay.
And it was so much simpler than what they thought. I mean, they didn't have to drug people. All they had to do was take over CNN and MSNBC to start a race war
Oh my God.
and fund Black Lives Matter.
Oh my
And
God.
there you go, race war.
Or expose the fact that a majority of this country is racist and wants us to revert back to pre-Civil War era. That's
not
why they're
true.
rocking. Do you know that at Trump's rallies, there's like Confederate flags and Nazi flags and American flags. They like in a row. They have Nazi flags, Confederate flags, and American flags. Nazi flags.
Never seen it.
Oh my God. They're all over the place. Every news source who's ever gone there, you can go to, like, if you look at any of the rallies, there's Nazi flags all over the place, man. They're racist.
Some of them.
Most of them.
No.
Okay, well, if they're not racist, they're okay with racism, which is just as bad.
They're okay with free speech.
Oh my God.
So then this sort of brings us back to the topic of news and where it goes. So my thinking is that, and you're already starting to see a little bit of it, is that the mainstream news sources cannot give up Trump. There was a headline in, was it Daily Beast, I think, that their headline news story was Ivanka Trump farted in high school and blamed her classmates.
That sounds like something a right-wing media would come up with that sounds like something the right-wing media would come up with to pin on the left-wing media for saying.
It was on their website. What are you talking about? It was one of their headline news stories. It was on their website.
Okay.
Nobody came up with it except the Daily Beast.
Okay.
So,
and it wasn't seen as a joke?
No.
Are you sure?
Well, I saw it as a joke.
Well, then it was a joke.
Why would you put that up if it was a joke?
Why has Trump said anything in the last 4 years?
The point is,
like,
the mainstream media.
Oh, so the left wing can't joke like the right wing does now?
Okay. They're going to joke about Trump and his family because that gets ratings. Okay, I'm just saying Trump isn't going to go away as long as the hypersensitive, overstimulated left-wing audience wants to keep seeing stories about negative stories about Trump and his family.
And I'm sure when Trump goes to jail and he's got a boyfriend, that they'll do an interview with Trump's cellmate who made Trump a little bitch, because that's what's going to happen. They'll probably have an in-depth interview of like how sweet Trump really is from his boyfriend in jail.
Yeah.
That's where it's going to go, because his ass is going to jail.
That's your fantasy.
It's more than half of the country's fantasy that Trump goes to jail. He should go to, and it shouldn't be a fantasy. It's not a fantasy. It's a reality. He's got like 4,000 pending cases against him. Dude is rotten to the core.
Okay. And that is the frame of mind and point of view that has been created over the last 4 years.
By himself. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. That is a frame of mind that was created by himself, by him tweeting racist remarks and just being a complete asshole and trying to destroy our society and make himself a dictator. You're absolutely right. That narrative that he produced is completely accurate.
Fake news. And you bought it. And this is the problem. This is why we might end up in a civil war, is because the fake news that CNN and MSNBC have made up is going to create
his own tweets.
People.
Are they controlling his tweets? They controlling his tweets? And his own mouth
is going.
When he says "Proud Boy, stand by and stand ready," that's fake. That's the news are creating that narrative. That's them. Have they infiltrated his own brain?
Did you see the whole context of the interview? He didn't even know what the Proud Boys was.
I was watching the debate when he said that. You don't think he knows that what they are?
They had to tell him. He said, "Who do you want me to denounce? What white supremacists do you want me to denounce?" He had already denounced white supremacists 71 times in the news. They keep saying he never did. The count got up to 72. When he said, "Sure, I denounce him in the debate," and then they said, "Will you denounce him?" And he said, "Who? I've been denouncing him." And they told him Proud Boys. He didn't know who the Proud Boys.
Stand by and stand ready.
Yeah, I don't think he said stand ready.
He
said stand down.
No, he said
stand by.
No, he said stand by and stand ready.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did. We were watching it together.
He did not say stand ready.
Oh my God.
He said stand back and stand by or something like that. He was essentially telling them, in his mind, don't do anything.
Yet.
Okay, well, we'll see. It's craziness.
He's going to be dragged out of the White House in handcuffs.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is.
No, he's not. If he can't figure out the legal process to
if he can't make up enough bullshit, you mean? He's blatant. Do you know that Lindsey Graham called the like board in Georgia and told them to lose votes? He was like, you need to make votes for Biden disappear. Lindsey Graham said that to a Republican official, and the Republican official came forward and said that Lindsey Graham said that to him. They are crooked to the core, man.
Okay.
How do you not see that?
Are you sure he wasn't talking about the machine printed ballots?
Lindsey Graham said you need to lose votes for Biden. You need to find votes for Trump.
He may have been talking specifically about the machine printed ballots for Biden and saying you can't count those.
Dude, you are absolutely insane.
I'm just telling you, your sources have no credibility. So the thing that
the Republican election official is not a credible source now.
Right, but you don't have the full context of the story. Like, you didn't know the details that they were talking about the machine printed ballots.
You don't know that either. You're just coming up with that.
Exactly.
So
So either one is equally as likely as true. So
and both are bad.
Yes.
So Lindsey Graham, no matter what, is a terrible human being.
Not if he's saying investigate and figure out if there's fraudulent ballots.
No, he's saying you need to create fraudulent ballots.
No, that's not what he said.
Yes, he is.
That's not getting rid of.
Oh my God! Did you see what Rudy Giuliani's new thing is?
Mm-mm.
He said that they want to hand count a certain select amount of votes, and then they want to extrapolate that out to all of them.
Well, if you were going to test
everything's already been counted like 3 fucking times.
Here's the problem. You know where this Dominion voting system came from? Do you know where it came from?
Where?
It was a software that was developed with the support of the CIA to help governments friendly to the United States remain in power, even if their own people were trying to throw them off. So Venezuela, places like that, where the CIA wanted to have a way to help friendly dictators stay in power. And so they created this Dominion software, and there's 2 or 3 different ways to get in the back door and change votes. And the Venezuelan general who was using...
And the Dominion software is in all 50 states and is used in every single county?
No.
Well, then it doesn't fucking matter.
Yes, it does. Because
no, it doesn't.
You know where it is used? In the states where Joe Biden won. That's the thing that's very suspicious.
And it was only used in the states Joe Biden won? Yeah. What states?
Pennsylvania, Georgia, North Carolina, Wisconsin.
Well, Joe Biden didn't win North
Nebraska.
Carolina. Joe Biden didn't win North Carolina.
It's a lot closer.
Donald Trump won North Carolina. So then your whole argument is sent out the window. You're just making up bullshit. You're saying that the CIA purposely made Trump lose when he did. Trump lost because he's a terrible human being.
Okay.
And he's a criminal, and he deserves to be in jail.
Well, everyone's entitled to their opinion, and you get one vote.
Facts.
Anyway, the point is that if you were going to test whether this Dominion software, which can be manipulated, was manipulated, is to take a random sample of at least 1,000 ballots, find out what the Dominion software said the vote was, and then hand count them.
There's already been hand recounts in like all these states, and Georgia just did like their 3rd hand recount.
But the point in Georgia,
Trump lost.
Georgia's a completely different animal because Georgia.
You just said that they used the Dominion. They used the Dominion software. You just said that, and they did a hand recount, and Trump still lost. So your argument is complete and utter bullshit. You're just making stuff up because you're like hardcore MAGA Trumper for some reason.
I'm just trying to communicate what their challenges are based on.
Bullshit.
The suppositions.
Their suppositions are bullshit. That's why they're getting shot down in every court.
Well,
that's why he's lost like 31 cases.
If there are machine printed ballots in Georgia, those should be searched for, and if they're not there, fine. But there's an affidavit from a poll watcher that said a van full of machine printed ballots came in.
Yeah, that's oh my God. Do you know how ridiculous that sounds? They said that someone with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, that is such a bad, it's like a bad joke of someone who would make something up. So stupid. Said that a Joe Biden bus pulled up next to the voting center and pulled out ballots in broad daylight in front of everybody. How dumb. How ridiculously moronic.
Why? If they were doing, like we talked about ballot harvesting the other day. If in a lot of states it's legal. In a lot of states it's legal for volunteers to go around through the community and collect people's ballots to make sure they get delivered on time.
Yeah.
And they would be on a Joe Biden bus if they were volunteers. So why is that?
So it was just people picking up ballots then?
You don't know, maybe. Potentially. Why is that story so far-fetched? that a Joe Biden bus would pull up full of ballots.
Oh my God.
I'm not talking about a Joe Biden bus pulling up full of ballots. I'm talking about a white van pulling up with boxes full of ballots. And when they looked at the ballots, they appeared to be machine printed. Like somebody got a bunch of blank ballots and ran them through a printer and, created a bunch of fake ballots that then they turned in and scanned. If they turned in the machine printed ballots and scanned them using the Dominion software and then recounted the ballots and didn't throw out the machine printed ballots, then the counts would match. That's not the issue. The issue is you need to check. If you find a bunch of machine printed ballots, you have to call those people and say, did you vote? And if they say, no, I didn't vote, then there's some funny business going on. You can get to the bottom of all this. You just have to do the work.
It's just all bullshit.
Well, you don't know it's bullshit because they haven't done the investigations.
Because it sounds like something a bad mob boss would come up with.
Yeah, bad mob bosses have been involved in American elections for years.
And there's one who's currently sitting in the White House.
Okay. Trump's not a big... Trump...
He wishes he was a mob boss.
Yeah,
he wishes he was a mob boss.
Wishes he was,
but he's terrible at it. And his spokesperson, Rudy Giuliani, is the biggest joke on the planet. He's literally melting in front of everybody.
Well, Giuliani is the one who actually prosecutes.
I'll take care of it, boss. That's Giuliani. I'm gonna do it in front. It's gonna be at the Four Seasons. I swear, boss. And I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell everybody. It doesn't matter. Everything's gonna be okay. I swear, boss. That's fucking Giuliani. He's a ridiculous pedophile creeper.
He's the one who prosecuted the mob in New York. Giuliani is the one who got the mafia out of New York City.
He probably learned from them. But he's terrible at it.
Okay, anyway.
He is just look at the dude. He's a joke. He is the biggest joke. It's like Trump. That's why I think we're in a simulation because it cannot get any more ridiculous. It cannot get any more cartoonish. Like kids in 100 years when they're looking back at this time period are going to be cracking up at how ridiculous it is and how ridiculous it is that Trump was president in the first place. They're going to be like, oh my God, I cannot believe how dumb the people were in 2016.
Right. And the reason that Trump was president was...
It's because the majority of this country are morons. Or not the majority anymore, but in 2016.
The reason Trump is president is because...
The most corrupt person on the planet, Trump.
Hillary Clinton wanted to run against Trump instead of the other Republican candidates, and she got her friends in the mainstream media to give him $1 billion worth of free coverage. And they thought he would be the easiest candidate to beat. So they pushed Trump, and he got the nomination, and then he won because enough people in the country disliked Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, I agree with you on that point. I did not vote for Hillary. I wrote in Bernie's name in 2016.
And the same people that were trying to do that whole Hillary Clinton scam, the DNC and whatever that guy who runs it is and his cronies, his lobbyist cronies, are the ones who got Joe Biden the election, this nomination this time. It's still the establishment. That's the same
fine.
people.
It's fine as long as Trump is gone, man. It doesn't matter.
Okay,
anything to get Trump gone.
Trump's gone, but the issue is the reason
now the United States will be able to heal. The coronavirus will be taken care of. We're going to get the vaccines out. Everything's going to open back up. The economy is going to boom again. Jobs are going to create it. There's going to be a Green New Deal. We're going to have solar panels everywhere. There's going to be wind turbines. The world is going to look at us and rejoice instead of look down on us again.
Okay, two things. Who the fuck cares what the rest of the world thinks?
Everybody,
about us?
you should. That's the problem. That is your problem. That is your problem. You don't care what the rest of the world thinks. And you should.
Why?
Because the rest of the world matters.
Why?
What do you mean, why?
Personal liberty is the most important, is the reason that the world has achieved what it has. For thousands of years, human civilizations.
Personal liberty were cavemen, okay? They only took care of themselves. The reason why society is the way it is through mutual cooperation. If it was all about personal whatever and we only matter, then we would have nuked everybody and taken all their resources. But you being an idiot saying, I don't care about the rest of the world. Screw the rest of the world. You know what? Let's bomb the rest of the world. That's what you're saying.
No, it's not.
That's exactly what you're saying.
No, it's not.
That is exactly what you're saying.
No, it's not. Somebody who has respect for personal liberty has respect for everyone's personal liberty. I respect the personal liberty of the people who are living under a totalitarian regime in China, and I wish that they had personal liberty. And I would respect the personal liberty of the people who are living under oligarchs and corrupt government in Russia, and I wish they had personal liberty.
The corrupt government in Russia that Trump wanted to turn America into by sucking up to Putin, being Putin's little bitch. So that's a very good example of how terrible Trump is. Again, thank you for proving my point of how terrible a human being Trump is.
Your brainwashing has you jumping around like a little trained monkey. Okay. The reason that the establishment can get away with the shit they're getting away with is because they have trained through their MSNBC and CNN brainwashing a sufficient number of the population of this country to jump around like little monkeys every time somebody says Trump. And you just follow right along, and you're just one of the little monkeys jumping around.
He did it himself. Read his tweets.
Keep jumping around, little monkey.
Look
at his tweets. Your brain,
you are the one that is brainwashed by the right-wing media and Trumpism, and you are so entrenched that you can't even see it.
You're the one who brings every damn conversation back to Trump. You are the one who brings every conversation back to Trump because you are a trained little monkey. CNN and MSNBC
because you're constantly
attacking
everybody else.
I'm not attacking anybody else.
I'm talking about CNN and MSNBC. You're just attacking them, which is made up of people.
It's made up of talking heads.
Who are going to be on the right side of history.
Made up of talking heads who say what the CIA tells them to say. Oh my God. You are under control.
So you are, dude.
Personal liberty is the magic of the U.S. Constitution. The thing that makes this country different from all the ones that have come before was the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. That we hold these truths to be self-evident. That people are created by
that's not what it says. That's not what it says. Matter. What does it say? What does it say?
Mankind.
It says all men.
All men.
Yes, because it was a document written by slave owners.
Okay. If you look at
when women didn't have the right to vote. Therefore, the document itself should be torn up.
Do some historical research, and you can, if you look at the conversations that were going on when the delegates were ratifying those documents, in their conversations, it is very clear that they were talking about all mankind when they used the word men.
Well, then why didn't they say all mankind?
Because that was not common parlance back then.
Well, then how do you know that they were talking about all mankind if that wasn't common parlance?
Because in their conversations, they are talking about
it. Yeah, you know why? Because in their conversations, all mankind were just white male.
In fact,
male
there is a paragraph that Thomas Jefferson wrote.
A slave owner who raped his slaves.
There is a paragraph.
Why don't you just say that? There's a paragraph where a slave owner who used to rape his slaves and beat his slaves wrote this paragraph. That's historically accurate, is it not?
Yes. But
okay, well, then why don't you use that
here's something that you don't
instead
know.
Of saying Thomas Jefferson, like he was some great person. When he wasn't. No, he wasn't. He raped his slaves.
Chancellor.
He raped his slaves.
Okay.
He wasn't a good person.
He
raped his slaves.
There was 13 there was 13 colonies when they were talking about ratifying the document. The first thing they did, they said, when we ratify this, it needs to be unanimous. Like everybody has to agree.
Every white slave owning male who owned land has to agree. You need to look at the context.
Yeah, you need to slow your roll for a minute.
Okay.
There was 13 colonies, and they agreed ahead of time that they wouldn't put out anything that all 13 didn't agree on. There was a paragraph that was written by Thomas Jefferson that talked about the evils of slavery and the fact
why did he rape his slaves?
And the fact that King George was making sure that the slave trade continued because it was so profitable for
King
England.
George made Thomas Jefferson rape his slaves?
And then only, and then 11 of the 13 colonies voted to ratify that paragraph, but 2 didn't. And so they didn't have it in
Were they
there.
2 in the South?
Yes.
Yeah. Big fucking surprise.
But Virginia was not one of them.
Okay.
It was probably, I don't know, I don't remember exactly. It was Georgia, South Carolina, I think. Or actually, it wouldn't have been South Carolina because North and South Carolina weren't separated. It was probably Carolina and Georgia that wouldn't ratify that paragraph. But it basically said, we don't want slavery in the United States. And those 2, and Thomas Jefferson wrote it.
Thomas Jefferson, who raped his slave.
You weren't there, Chancellor.
No, but his lineage has existed.
He had sex with Sally Hemings, yes. He did have sex with Sally Hemings. But you weren't there.
Okay. He still owned her.
Yes.
Okay. So he raped his slave.
Well, according to you.
You just said he owned her and he had sex with her. Mm-hmm. He had sex with what he viewed as an object.
You don't know how he viewed her.
I know that he owned her and he had sex with her, so therefore he raped her.
Okay. So Bill Clinton raped Monica Lewinsky?
He didn't own Monica Lewinsky.
But he had that power, that same power dynamic.
No, he didn't.
Sure,
he couldn't have cut off Monica Lewinsky's head in the White House and no one would have said anything. Thomas Jefferson could have sliced her head off and no one would have said anything. That is very different.
But there would have been no incentive to do that, particularly if he loved her.
But he still owned her. It doesn't, dude, he raped his slaves. You admitted it already. I don't know why you're so...
Throughout history.
Yeah, this country was founded by terrible men.
Okay.
Terrible human beings.
Okay, and that is why we're going to...
Unevolved human beings.
That point of view is why Donald Trump got elected in the first place and why we may have a civil war. Because there are people in this country that have read history that can appreciate the power of the U.S. Constitution and what
the power of the Constitution that did not give women the right to vote.
All of the good that this country has done in the world, right? That there are people who recognize that, and there are people like you who've been brainwashed by CNN and the 1619 Project and MSNBC and the public education system to believe this lie that the United States is evil. And you're going to continue to have this point of view until there's violence in the streets. Okay, so what's going to happen? The people that have been raised on that the United States is evil, they tend to live in cities, right? They tend to be Democrat.
I'm not saying that the United States. I'm not saying that the United States is evil. I'm saying it was founded by evil men. The United States is made up of good people and bad people.
The Constitution.
The good people won the Civil War. That's why the Confederate flag should not be a thing anymore.
But you are the one who keeps saying the Constitution was written by white men, so it should be torn up and thrown out.
By slave-owning white men who did not give women the right to vote.
Everybody in the damn world up to that point lived in slave-owning civilizations, with the exception of England, which had gotten rid of slavery like 20 years earlier.
Then England was 20 years ahead of us.
Fine. Slavery was the essentially the default.
It was the norm, and it was not okay.
Sure, of course it wasn't okay. But
okay, and you're going to see that in 50 years that thinking Trump is a good guy.
Again, jumping monkey, you're back to Trump. I wasn't talking about Trump. I'm talking about the U.S. Constitution.
Okay.
And if you read the U.S. Constitution, and if you read Thomas Hobbes, Leviathan, and if you read Jean-Jacques Rousseau, Emile, and if you read Aristotle, The Politics, and if you read Plato's Republic, and if you read John Locke's Second Treatise on Government, and if you read Montesquieu, you will understand that the U.S. Constitution is what has brought political enlightenment to the whole globe.
Okay.
The men who wrote our Constitution had read philosophy, and they understood the history and the cycles of civilization, and they understood tyranny, and they understood oligarchy, and they understood direct democracy, and they understood how power circulates. And they wanted and did create a system that balances, with checks and balances, the different social power.
And the greatest part about the Constitution that it says that we can change it and we can rip it up.
No, you don't rip it up. You get amendments ratified. You ratify amendments to the Constitution through the vote.
Doesn't the Constitution say that if this isn't working, we can just start over with a new system?
Revolution. Okay, well, if that's the direction you're talking about, then you're going to end up in the streets with guns shooting at other Americans. But guess what? Your side is going to lose.
Why?
Think about it.
Because we don't have the guns? Because we
don't
would
have the
rather
practice.
not kill people?
Okay, if you don't want to kill people, then quit talking about revolution and ratify an amendment to the Constitution instead of ripping it up.
Why can't you do... I mean, essentially, you can do both. You can rip it up and write a brand new one.
Go ahead. But you've got a lot of people who appreciate the power and beauty of the U.S. Constitution who aren't going to sit idly by while a bunch of millennial slackers...
You guys aren't going to be here.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
But the Oath Keepers are.
The Oath Keepers?
Yes. The people that have taken an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States when they joined the military, and when they got out of the military, they pledged to continue to uphold that oath.
Okay.
So they will protect and defend the Constitution of the United States, even though they're not in the military anymore. But they still have their training and they still have their guns.
Okay.
Thank
not if
God
we take
for
away
the
their
Oath
not if we
Keepers.
take away their guns before that.
Okay, so when you go to take away their guns, that's when the Civil War starts.
It'll happen.
It'll happen?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Eventually it'll happen.
What will?
Eventually NATO will come in and we will demilitarize the entire world. No one will have a gun. You can still have like hunting rifles, but
You just said NATO will come in.
yeah, when we have our one world government.
And the fact that you think that's a good thing shows
It is a good thing.
shows that you have
We should unite as a planet.
you can unite as a planet behind specific goals, but when you start giving up sovereignty, when you give up your personal sovereignty,
Lines on a map do
Chancellor,
not matter.
you don't even like doing what I tell you to do.
Yeah, because most of the time.
So
it's
guess
dumb
what?
shit.
You get a one world government, you're going to be doing what somebody you don't even know tells you what to do.
That's
How do
what's
you
already
want- how do you
happening.
want
That's already
that?
happened.
How?
What do you mean?
How do you do what somebody you don't even know tells you what to do?
Well, I mean, it's not that they tell me what to do. It's just basic human, like, don't go rob a bank, like stuff like that. Just be a good person.
That's not a one world government telling you what to do.
Oh, and what would the one world government tell me to do?
Go work in this factory.
Why? Robots would do that, are going to do that.
The one world government doesn't care.
Yeah, they would.
No, they don't.
Because the
want
one
you
world government is
occupied.
made up of the world.
They want
dude.
you-
It's made up of people. God,
They
you're
want
like, it's like
you occupied.
everybody already is occupied. They have phones. Everyone's constantly looking at a screen. Everyone's already occupied, man. The robots are going to do all the
In
work.
China, which is the closest thing to what you're talking about, a totalitarian government, the Chinese government tells their people and puts them in factories to keep them occupied so that they don't revolt against the government.
We are the government, man. That's what you don't get. If everyone can vote on their phone, we are the government.
Who frames the question? Like you say, if everybody could vote on their phone, well, you're voting for something.
Yeah.
You're voting on issues. And there are
Yeah.
going to be people that are framing the issues and giving you the choices that you're voting on.
No, you get to
You
frame
get
the
to
issues.
what? You get to say, you get to post on Twitter, here's something I want everybody to vote on.
Yeah.
Okay. And then they vote on it and what? Then what?
And then if it gets enough upvotes, then the world opens up and it becomes an actual issue and the world votes on it. But it's got to get enough upvotes first.
Yeah. And then how are those things enforced?
By a global agreement. Depends on what the thing is.
The reason that the United States is so powerful is because it protects minorities against the tyranny of the majority. And you're saying everybody upvotes and then the world votes on it. And what if the thing that got enough upvotes was we should kill all of the Indonesian kids with Down syndrome? That wouldn't get enough
upvotes.
How do you know?
Because the world won't be filled with moronic racists like yourself.
No,
it will be filled with
people who are brainwashed like you from the context of the information that social media has allowed you to see over the last 4 years. You're so easily manipulated that you are jumping around like a little trained monkey, and everybody who
you sound like a trained monkey repeating the same bullshit over and
everybody
over
who watches this podcast on YouTube and listens to this podcast knows that you are brainwashed because of the way
you're brainwashed.
Because of the way that you react.
You are a MAGA Trumper.
And
you're okay with racism.
That's absolute bullshit.
If you support Trump, you support racism.
Again, jumping around like a little monkey. They told you what to say and you say it.
It's not what they told me what to say, man.
The wiring in your brain is messed up.
Oh my God.
Thanks to 4 years of programming from CNN and MSNBC.
I haven't been watching CNN and MSNBC for 4 years.
Yeah.
God, you're acting like a 4-year-old now.
You're
that upset, man?
This is where cancel culture comes from.
Oh my God.
It comes from people like you who've been brainwashed.
Oh my God.
It's ridiculous.
Yes, it is.
Making lists of people to prosecute and to cancel and to
people who've done bad things. People who have done bad things.
People who stand up for personal liberty and support the Constitution of the United States. Yeah, that's who you're trying to blackball.
Oh my God.
And that's why we're going to have a civil war, because you guys either have to realize what has been done to you by mainstream media and the CIA. No, you've been programmed by the CIA.
No, I haven't.
You don't think you have, but you have.
How have I been I have not. I do not sit and I don't consume that stuff all the time. With this thing of the election was over, I turned it off.
But you don't understand. It gets circulated. It's on CNN and MSNBC. Then somebody retweets it. Then somebody takes a clip and puts it on YouTube.
But the people doing that are people. They're not them. They're people. They are people
like you who've been brainwashed.
No.
Yes.
People, man.
Right.
So we're brainwashing each other.
Correct.
Okay. So ridiculous. You don't even see how ridiculous
you're being fed the content through CNN and MSNBC, which gives it an air of credibility, and then
that doesn't give it an air of credibility. I don't look at every story at CNN and MSNBC and say that's credible. I don't look at it like that, man. I think it's all bullshit. Like, come on.
Right, but the algorithms on YouTube and Twitter promote a certain point of view and frame of mind that protects their own interests.
And it's the same algorithm that's feeding you shit, man. It's the same algorithm.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. Jimmy Dore is a part of the right-wing algorithm.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is.
Well,
he just tweeted a picture of showing Kamala Harris behind bars. Like he is a right-wing sleeper agent.
Oh, okay. Well, he was one of Bernie Sanders' biggest campaign
and he
volunteers.
Just attacked Bernie. He just attacked Bernie.
Because Bernie.
Oh my God. That's why I'm saying he's a right-wing sleeper agent.
He's not.
And he's infiltrated your mind so deep and brainwashed you so deep.
He's actually a progressive purist. What pisses Jimmy Dore off is all of the warmongers that Joe Biden's putting on in his cabinet.
Jesus Christ.
Glenn Greenwald and Jimmy Dore are anti-war progressives. And the fact that you're calling them right-wing just shows how brainwashed you are.
Okay.
You think anybody that disagrees with the CNN, MSNBC line is right-wing. That's Jimmy Dore. That's Glenn Greenwald. Those people are not right-wing.
If he's attacking Bernie and Kamala Harris.
Aaron Mate, those are the guys who are actually the investigative journalists who are showing what's really going on.
And
They're
what's
not
really
right-wing.
going on?
What's really going on is Joe Biden is part of the establishment. He has been supporting the military-industrial complex for his 47-year career, and he's now appointing lobbyists and establishment people to his cabinet and throwing
And that's better than appointing heads of industry?
and throwing aside everybody.
So like the EPA to dismantle like environmental protections?
Well, we talked before about the government and how big it has grown. There are government bureaucrats that think they have a right to their power. They totally forgot that the government only has its power by the consent of the governed. They've forgotten about the consent of the governed. They've been bureaucrats in the big Washington establishment so long that they just do whatever they want, and they think they're smarter than the population. And it's time for them all to go, and it's time for the federal government to shrink back to 1/3 its size like it was in the 50s.
Well, it would do that if we got rid of the military.
No, it wouldn't. We talked about this too. The military is not as big as you think it is. And the military is
why do they take up 80% of the budget?
Discretionary budget. We talked about that too. Discretionary budget. The federal government is tied up with the Fed and borrowing all of this money to make sure that the Gini coefficient continues to grow. When the U.S. government spends more than it pulls in taxes, it borrows money from the Fed. Okay? You understand that?
Yes.
And then pays interest on that money.
Okay.
The Fed just prints money out of whole cloth. They just make up money and then charges the federal government interest on the money that they just made up.
Yeah.
Okay? That interest is in T-bonds. Those T-bonds are essentially the investment that all of the super wealthy invest in.
So let's just get rid of money. Make your
My
social
point-
standing a
My
currency.
point is that
I'd have $105,000 right now
the growth
if you're based it on Instagram followers. Let's do that.
the growth of the federal government is why.
I mean, that's what Bitcoin is. It's just made up code.
Yeah,
So let's just do that.
go for it.
That's what cryptocurrency tried to do.
Well, kind of is doing, isn't it?
It's gone way down because we're still based on the dollar.
So, back to my point. Follow along. Try and follow this along. As the federal government grows and their spending increases, that is what is keeping the super rich rich and the poor poor. Because even though the tax rates on the rich are higher than the tax rates on the poor, there's
The rich don't pay taxes. They get out with loopholes.
That's just another story.
Trump paid like $700 in taxes.
Again, that's made up.
Oh my God.
Look at the progressive tax rate. If you do your own taxes, you can look at the tax rates. The more you make, the more you pay. It's simple. It's straightforward. It's progressive tax rate. The problem is there's very few people up there. There's almost nobody there. So even if you charged all the billionaires 70%, that's still not going to make enough money to pay back the interest on all the money that the government keeps borrowing. So the poor people, middle class and poor, end up paying the interest on the made up money that the Fed printed so that they could pay interest to the super rich who invest in T-bonds.
Like Trump.
It is whoever, all of them. It is a giant transfer. It takes the money away from the middle class and the poor and it gives it to the super wealthy.
That sounds like trickle down economics.
And that
sounds like trickle down economics, right?
it's the entire
Giving all the money to the rich so that they create jobs and all that stuff. That was Reagan's whole thing. So again, it's the right wing's fault that we're in this situation,
It's the growth of the federal bureaucracy.
which was expanded under Bush greatly.
Chancellor, why do you keep repeating the same conversations we've already had? The
Because
federal
you don't
government.
get the point.
No, you're the one who doesn't get the point. The federal government has been growing since the 50s.
Yeah.
Bush wasn't even around.
No, but Nixon was.
And Kennedy and Carter and every administration. And it's primarily, remember, you keep blaming it on the president. That's another trick they use on you. The federal bureaucracy is not totally controlled by the president. The growth of these agencies is approved by the House of
Which
Representatives,
is made up of people.
which creates the budget.
Yeah, the House, which actually represents the people.
Well, it
unlike the
doesn't-
Senate, which
the
gives
House
the
doesn't.
Dakotas the same amount of senators
The House-
as California, when California has like 30 million people there. Even more than that, I think.
Did you not understand why we have a House and a Senate? We had this
I
conversation
know,
as well.
I did, and it's messed up.
It's not messed up. It's how you keep a federal republic together.
Oh, so this federal republic, this constitution, this great government,
Yes.
that the Constitution allows the government to grow. So you have a problem with the Constitution too, then?
Well, what I have a problem with is not the actual Constitution. What I have is
But the
with
Constitution allows for that. So you should have a problem
the
with the Constitution.
aberration.
Because the Constitution is what caused this. You're saying that the
Actually,
Constitution
no.
is so great.
Actually, what caused this is the aberration. What caused this is the 1911 capping of the House of Representatives at 435. The Constitution's right. The current government is wrong because they've abandoned that
Thank
part
you
of the
for agreeing
Constitution.
that the Trump administration is wrong for once in your life.
The federal government's been wrong since 1911.
Okay.
They abandoned the
I know, we've already talked about this.
stipulations that gave the people the right to essentially control what the federal government does.
Yeah,
when
so
they
like
capped the
it would
number
be
of
really
people in
cool
the
if
House.
everyone got a vote, right? If everyone had like
No.
on their phone, they could like decide on things like what I proposed like 20 minutes ago that you shot down. Because you're saying like, there you go, man.
No, because if you study history, then you know that when you have direct democracy, that results in tyranny.
Oh my God.
The majority of the people vote to do stupid stuff.
You can't like vote Trump in the first place.
Like vote to deport all of the black people. There's the minority community in this country is 13%. If you gave direct democracy and you think the whole country's racist, then you're basically saying, okay, everybody can vote to deport all the black people.
But they wouldn't, because they're not evil. They're not like we've just proved it in the last election that a
Why?
majority of people aren't racist.
Okay. Why?
At least 5 million more people in
Why
America aren't
risk it?
racist.
Why risk it? Why have a system where that's even a possibility?
So, I agree. So we should actually, what we should do is we should collect all the 71 million people that voted for Trump. We should stick them on a boat and send them away.
And you just made my point. That's why you can't have direct democracy, because there's people like you around who would vote to do something like that.
To get rid of the racist?
There you go. You define somebody with some term that no longer means anything because it's so broad, and now you've created a way to convince enough people to do something crazy that if you had direct democracy, that vote would happen. The country would devolve in 2 weeks. The United States wouldn't even be around anymore. And then Russia and China or whoever would sweep in, no problem, and take over.
No, because there's NATO.
NATO wouldn't be able to defend us against China. They're not strong enough.
I don't know about that.
They're not. NATO is essentially 50% the United States and the other 50% all of the other countries.
You put way too much weight on the United States.
I'm talking about funding. I'm talking about weapon systems. I'm talking about troop counts. I'm talking about the actual power. I'm talking about reality.
Okay.
The United States has been acting as the world policeman for the last 50 years, trying to protect the West from Russia and China for 50 years.
So it sounds like we need to start a revolution in Russia and China.
Okay, that's what that's the kind of shit the CIA tries.
Whatever works.
No, the only thing that works is personal liberty.
That's what we're fighting for in Russia and China. If we overthrow Putin and the communists in China, then that's what we would be fighting for.
Do it for them.
I know. So we should
can
figure
do-
out how do we get Putin out? We need to prop up a new leader, like a younger leader, maybe a gay, young, black leader in Russia. Maybe that's what they need.
You're just being silly.
I'm saying.
This kind of thinking is what has kept the United States in wars in regime change wars for the last 30 years. I thought you liked Tulsi Gabbard.
I do like Tulsi Gabbard.
Okay, well, what you just said would make her cringe.
Okay.
It's dumb. Personal liberty.
That's what I'm saying. We should fight for the personal liberty of the people in China and Russia.
We shouldn't be fighting anywhere else. We shouldn't be
fighting,
leading,
period. We should do a global demilitarization.
No.
We should come together as a globe.
We should be
and we
leading
should
by
have
example.
everybody melt their guns down, and we should turn those guns into AI robots that will build new houses and farm for us.
Sure. Write a science fiction novel.
That's how things actually happen.
Okay, well,
people write science fiction novels, and then eventually it comes true.
Okay, well, that's a better strategy than trying to force people to turn in their guns.
It's the exact same strategy.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. It's the same strategy.
The reason the United States is still around is because of the Second Amendment.
The reason the United States is still around is because we have nukes.
Well, no, but
yes.
Even if
we didn't have nuclear capabilities, then if we didn't have the atom bomb, then
what?
Germany would have won.
Maybe.
And Japan would have won.
Japan wasn't developing nuclear technology, and Germany would have probably, if there was one country that had nuclear weapons that was as aggressive as Germany instead of as reserved as the United States, then they would have taken over the world.
Yeah.
So again, the United States has protected the world from tyranny because of our Constitution.
Through tyranny. Through dropping atom bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
You know that before we dropped those bombs, we dropped 7 million flyers in Japan telling people to get out of the cities that we were targeting?
I did not know that.
Yes. United States.
Why don't they teach that?
Good question. Very good question.
That is a good one. I really would like to know. That's us saying that we weren't evil.
Yeah.
So why do we want our people to think we're evil?
Good question. Ask the critical race theorist. 1 hour and 2 minutes.
Are we done? Okay.
We're done for this week.
We'll end on that note. We're going to Hell of a Homecoming?
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Is that what we decided on?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I made the song yesterday. Hasn't been released anywhere yet. Put it up on Label Radar, hoping one of the big guys picks it up. So here's Hell of a Homecoming.
See you next week.
Adios.
Closer.